Hello, this is Inside the Press Box with Sunil Sunder Raj for the Everyday Fan Sports. I'm happy to be speaking with Casey Goff, head coach of the College of New Jersey Lions football team. Coach Goff, thank you for taking some time out to speak with me today. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate being here. I appreciate the invite.
As we before we came on the air, Coach Goff, where I said a little over 48 hours, said from the 2021 regular season opener, said at Muhlenberg College at Scotty Wood Stadium there on Saturday afternoon. I had to ask you, said how the preparation, said for the regular season opener has been going on, and just said just talk about training camp so far here, Coach Goff.
Everything's been going well. I think a lot of people potentially had question marks kind of coming into this year because it's been so long since we've had a camp. But our kids came in eager and ready. And I think we were actually kind of ahead where we are in the past in terms of just kind of a knowledge base. And a lot of that had to do with, I think it has to do with our maturity. We're at a position now with 32 seniors and 32 juniors. Yeah. Also having 8 weeks in the spring made a huge difference. And then, to be able to wrap that up when we did and have that kind of a short leeway, a short off, between then and the start of camp, just the retention of things was there. It was a little more fresh for the kids, and you could see that right away. So we were able to dive into a little more than we were traditionally able to during a fall camp. So, hopefully that pays off in the long run. Our kids were focused, and they obviously put work in over the off time. They were physically in a different position than they've been in the past as well. And we were, I think everybody was kind of worried when kids didn't have access to facilities and things like that, kind of how they would handle that break. And our kids attacked it. They did the thing that we kind of expected them to do. So camp's been good. It was a good couple weeks. Our kids are eager and they're excited to get back to football.
Okay, let's just talk about this year's team. As you said, definitely an experienced group. As you said, full of upperclassmen. If you want to talk about, said any specific players, and just said guys on the offense and defense, that you're going to be really counting on, Coach Goff, said to field a winning team this season.
So from an offensive perspective, I think what we're most excited about is our experience and our depth up front. Mm-hmm. We're in a position now where we feel really good about our ones and twos along the offensive line. Where in the past, you kind of got concerned if a body went down, or how you were going to kind of piecemeal things together because we didn't have numbers. We're now in a position where really we look at our ones and our twos, and they're pretty interchangeable, and they've got a wealth of experience. I know there's been time off, but it's guys that have games under their belt. So we're very excited about our offensive line, and I think getting Dave Jahara back at the QB position, I think where he's most comfortable is kind of been an important part of the process. And getting him reps in the spring was huge. To have Mark Pacini back again in the backfield, I feel like Mark's been here for 8 years, because he's been now a 3-year starter for us because we had the pandemic off season. Yeah. To have that kind of depth, and then he's backed up with Colin Tong, who's got a ton of experience at that position, and Nicky Chambers, who we're very excited that he's really started to come forward. And then had the experience like Hafer, Cauley, and Elliott at the wide receiver spot. Like we feel good about where we are on the offensive side of the ball. From a defensive perspective, we had to do some replacing on the back end. We lost Eric Graham up front, but with Nick Selly back, along the front with guys like Jared Lyles, Mike Rosati, Chris Ratty, we've got a lot of guys that have a lot of reps along our defensive line. And we're probably, we've got 9 capable bodies that we're going to rotate in along our defensive line. So we're going to be able to continue to keep those guys fresh and moving. And a guy like Luke Young at the corner position's got a ton of experience, a ton of games under his belt. The backer position, we've got some new bodies, but we've also got some old faces with Sal Tardano and and Tyler Lubikowski and Gavin Leapy back for his 5th year. We feel like we're in a different position, a position we haven't been since I was here. When I started in 2017, we're just in a spot in terms of the experience on both sides of the ball and in key positions on both sides of the ball.
I had to ask you just about the preseason, Paul. I mean, I said Salisbury picked first, Montclair State second, Rowan third, and Christopher Newport fourth. You came in fifth. They said, I just wanted to ask you about the conference, the NJAC, New Jersey Athletic Conference overall, Coach Goff, just what you see is, in terms, and then I'll, ask you about the schedule, but if you can talk about the conference, overall this season.
I mean, listen, the NJAC is one of the best conferences in the country. Year in, year out, our champ is going to make a run in the playoffs. We know every week you better be ready to play. I mean, there really is not a team in our conference that you can take lightly. I think everybody is starting to progress. I mean, Dustin Johnson has done a tremendous job at William Patterson, and I mean, I know they sat where they were in the poll, but none of us, trust me, no one in this conference looks at that poll and goes, oh, hey, we can take this week off. We know you better be ready to buckle it up every week, and you're going to be in a battle every week, no matter who you're playing from top to bottom. And I know that sounds cliche, and I know a lot of coaches say that, but I can tell, like, we mean that. And I think it's evident when you look at scores on a weekly basis that the games in the NJAC are highly competitive. And that only helps us, when we get into non-conference play and when we get into, playoff time, whoever our conference champion is ready for that grind and ready for what they're going to see over those weeks in November and December. So, I mean, really, I can't say anything negative about kind of the guys in this conference, the teams in this conference. I mean, I think just a tremendous group. You have tremendous coaching staffs and really, really talented football teams that play hard football.
Yeah. Just looking at the schedule, I said after Muhlenberg this weekend, and then, said you come back for the home opener September 11th. I mean, versus SUNY Cortland. I mean, Military and First Responders Day. I mean, I was thinking about it last night, Coach. I mean, the 20th anniversary of September 11th, I mean, a very solemn day, said, of course, in America. I mean, can you talk about, I mean, it's a game to be played, but, there's more, said that is definitely, going to be on the plate as far as, said, I'm sure during pregame, festivities and said, but can you just talk about that?
Yeah, I mean, I think obviously it's a day that's going to be weighing heavy on everyone. And we felt it's important to make sure that we acknowledge the people that were kind of directly involved with kind of helping so many that day and how many paid the price because of what happened that day. And I think it's really, you think about September 11th and you think about the state of New Jersey. I mean, so many of our families I think everybody across the country was impacted, but so many of our families were directly impacted by that day. So I think it'll be something that'll be weighing on kids, weighing on family, weighing on the country, but also, it's an opportunity to kind of come together and just enjoy the sport that we love in this country. I think it's important that we remember, that we acknowledge, but it's also important to just say, hey, it's okay. Like we can let it go for that moment and enjoy things, enjoy life, and enjoy what we're doing. It's definitely, I mean, it's something that we're all going to carry with us for the rest of our days. I mean, I think everybody can remember exactly where they are when it happened. And, you bring up Muhlenberg. I was actually coaching at Muhlenberg when September 11th, when the terrorist attack occurred, and vividly remember where I was on campus, what I was doing. And I think that's the same story for most Americans that lived during that time, not necessarily lived directly through it, but I think, like I said, I think everybody was impacted in some way, but it's important that we continue to acknowledge and continue to praise the people that were so heroic on that day and the days following. So it's it's an honor to be able to kind of highlight them during our home opener.
Yeah, no, I agree with you 100%. And then it said following that September 25th at Nichols College, then followed by a homecoming game. I'm sure it's just very special. I mean, facing William Patterson, and then at Montclair State under the lights there, it said on October 9th, and then I think at Keene University, October 16th, October 23rd versus Christopher Newport, and then November 6th at Salisbury University, and then November 12th, back, I said versus Rowing University, a night game at Lions Stadium. So I guess if you want to just comment on that, I said part of the schedule, Coach Goff.
Yeah, I mean, there's no let up.
Yeah.
We've got a couple buys in there. Unfortunately, we were only playing a 9-game schedule this year.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of that had to do with kind of what happened with Wesley.
Okay.
And we just weren't able to pick up the game. I know there's a couple teams in our conference that are in the same boat.
Okay.
So it's a one-time deal that's going to happen. We'll be back to a 10-game schedule in 22, but we just kind of roll with it this year. But, as you're reading that thing off, I mean, there's no let up in this schedule. We didn't help ourselves out with some of those non-conference games as well, but we want to go play the best. We want to play teams from different areas. And we want to play the best teams from those outside conferences to kind of see where our football program is. Yeah. So we realize it's a difficult schedule, but our kids are up to the task and excited for it.
I was going to ask you later, but I think wanted to get this question is that what you want as far as your team, your players, that jersey, that Lions jersey, that helmet, what you want, to represent, on the field, Coach Goff?
Well, I mean, we want high character, high energy, high motor kids. We want our kids to understand that, there's an obligation when they put that jersey on, that they're representing their family, they're representing their teammates, representing the past, and they're representing the future. A big part of what we talk about is not necessarily following a standard, but being the standard. We want our kids to elevate that jersey. And that's actually one of our mantras is for the jersey. Our kids have a understanding of kind of what that obligation is. And it's a matter of earning the right to put that jersey on a Saturday. And understanding everything that comes with it. First and foremost is a total commitment to your teammates and making sure you're doing everything correctly, not only on the field, not only on the practice field, the game field, in the classroom, when you're at home, where you're out in your community, having a full understanding of you're representing something that's bigger than you. I think that's one of the positives still of football that we're lacking in a lot of other areas in our society is that understanding of like, hey, you've got a priority to more than just yourself. Decisions. We talk often about how every decision you make as a football player, and it's not just about like, hey, whether I get a holding penalty or I do the right thing on outside zone or I if I miss a gap in terms of my responsibilities on the defensive side, it's down to every decision you make. Like, hey, should I study for this test? Like all those decisions have an impact on the people around you, directly impact the team and directly impact your teammates. So we just want our kids to have a full understanding of that. And that's the approach they have to bring on a Saturday, make the right decisions, do things the right way, do things our way, and do them with a high motor. We're not looking for kids that are out there just to kind of be out there. We want kids that are passionate about being out there on the football field, and understanding if they aren't, then, hey, maybe this isn't for you. But that's really, really what that all entails. That priority, that obligation, if you will, when you put that jersey on, is represent this program in a positive light and represent this institution in a positive light and represent yourself and your family in a positive light.
Yeah, no, well said. And, entering your fifth year, I had to ask you personally, Coach Goff, I mean, losing that year, due to the COVID-19 pandemic last year, how tough was that? I mean, you said, so much, I mean, with, not only the season and just, with the players, the coaching staff, but I just had to ask,
It sucked.
Yeah.
It sucked. I mean, it sucked.
Yeah.
You know, you could sit here and try to put it in these words, but no, it took us all out of our rhythm. It took us all out of the things that we are used to. And as football coaches, we don't want to be cooped up. I want to coach, and I want to be out on the field, and to not have that stunk. Like it wasn't a fun year. You know, we were able to fill time. Obviously the positive, you're going to say there's a positive. I was able to spend a heck of a lot more time with my family. Yeah. Which I'm appreciative of, you know, to have that. But you know, you still, as a football coach, you want to go coach. You want to be out there on the field. You want to be doing those things. That was tough. It was not easy on us as coaches. It was not easy on the kids. And you know, I think it definitely impacted us all in different ways at certain points. You know, I think we all kind of went on a roller coaster ride over that period of time where you had your ups and downs. You know, you found things to kind of fill your time, but then you got sick of that, and you just thought, hey, I want to go out, and I want to do what I'm meant to do. Yeah,
no, definitely. I hate to ask you, I don't want to forget about the coaching staff, because they play such a, you know, critical role as well in the success of a team. I guess if we can just first talk about offensive coordinator, offensive line coach, you know, Eric Gendra, you know, Yasek, Edwin Edwards, defensive coordinator, defensive backs coach, linebackers coach, and co-academic coordinator, Rocky Hager, co-special teams coordinator and co-academic coordinator, and tight ends coach, quarterback coach, Craig Sicardo, defensive back coach, Terry Owens, Chip Payne, defensive quality control, and Dean Schofield, strong safeties coach. We can just talk about what this, you know, staff is, you know, really, you know, brought to the table, you know, said here, and just working alongside also with them, Coach Goff.
And we also have Shane Ritchie. Shane Ritchie is who's working with our linebackers as well. Okay. We've got a tremendous staff. We've got a small staff. We don't have a lot of guys. Yeah. But everybody is fully committed, and they work their butts off. Yeah. And they constantly, you know, they work every day to make sure that, you know, not only the program is better, but they work better themselves on a daily basis. You know, everybody kind of takes a look in the mirror at things that they need to continue to improve in terms of how we conduct practice, how we conduct on a game day, and how we handle things in our downtime, how we handle things in the office, and we've just got a group of guys that I think bring a ton of experience, a ton of winning experience, who just are fully invested in this program and fully invested in their careers, you know, and guys that I've got a good relationship with. I mean, Eric Jendrazik and I go way back to when I was an assistant coach at Cortland State. Like when I was starting my career, Eric was a player there. He was an All-American offensive lineman for us at Cortland. And then, you know, he and I worked together at King's College. Coach Edwards was on our first year at King's College. Coach Edwards, our starting free safety when I was at King's. So, you know, that's how we got connected with Edwin. And the Rockies, I mean, Rocky's a legend in this business. He's a guy who's got 4 national titles with his time at North Dakota State. 2 as an assistant and 2 as a head coach. And, you know, he was on staff when I got here, and we were fortunate to be able to retain him. And he brings years and years of experience, and kind of helps us as coaches continuing to come up in the business, see things that maybe we typically wouldn't. You know, and then, you know, everybody else on staff, guys are just, like I said, they've got the experience, they've got the energy, and we just feel like we've got the best staff in the conference. Yeah. Who works like I said, we don't have a staff as big as other places. You know, and so guys have to work that much harder to do a lot of the little things that maybe you normally wouldn't have to do. But you know, I think that's another area that our guys really excel.
Yeah, I mean, taking on more responsibilities. I know that you also work with special teams as well, Coach Goff. So everybody's, you know, playing a hand in, you know, each role, you know, each aspect of the football program. You know, what's so impressive is you know, what you've been able to do here, you know, said in your, you know, entering your 5th year at TCNJ is the development of players. I just, like, you know, when I was looking at some of the players, you talk about Dave Jacquera, Zach Orcola, Mark Puccini, Jaden Elliott. I mean, some of these guys, and not only the fact that they've been able to succeed, on the field, being able to, put up, say great numbers on the field, but off the field, coach, academically, said have been able to earn, a number of distinguished honors. Can you just talk about that part?
Yeah, I think that's one of the things we really strive to do, is make sure that a young man, when they come here, they continually get better. So by the time they leave this place, they're a much better football player after the 4 years. But our first priority when we talk about be better, we talk about first and foremost being a better person, being a better student, being a better football player, because we think that all goes hand in hand. And you can't have one without the other, and you can't flip the order on that. I don't think you can become a better person, or I'm sorry, a better football player without first becoming a better person. Yeah. And here at a place like TC&J, you can't walk out on the football field if you don't become a better student. This is a very demanding institution academically. We're kind of just a different type of place from an academic perspective. So our kids have to really be locked in on all aspects of things and really have a good understanding of how to conduct themselves on and off the field. But, that's a big thing that we pride ourselves on, is just making sure that when a young man comes here and when he leaves here, he's a different person in a lot of positive ways. Everybody who goes to college goes through a growth phase. Like, I'm sorry, you don't come in as a freshman and leave the same as a senior. If that's the case, then you didn't do college correctly. So everybody changes in a certain way, and we just try to make sure that change is a positive one. Yeah. And we do everything we can in terms of our relationship building, and in terms of kind of the way we meet with kids, the way we coach with kids. And that really, I think, is the focal point of our responsibilities as coaches. Yeah. And I think that should be the focal point of most anybody who coaches, anybody who gets in this business, is that's your ultimate goal, is make sure that you're doing everything you can to enhance the lives of the kids that are in your program. Yeah.
I didn't want to forget also Eric Graham and Luke Young as well. I mean, they said, again, they were able to flourish on, I said, academically as well. I wanted to ask you just about actually recruiting. That's what I wanted to get into. Just, again, within the state of New Jersey, north to south, north central to south, just talk about that, said every year, said how you've been able to build upon that and, again, draw the best talent, said to come and attend, in TC&J and play on the team, Coach Goff.
Well, I think when I got here in 17, I got here late 17. So we basically, we couldn't dive into the recruiting right away. We're kind of tail end. But a big part of what we did was we just changed our timeline a little bit and looked at, okay, when were we going after kids in previous years, and understanding like where we are academically, we've got to get on kids earlier. And a big part too is just making sure kids understand what they have in their backyard, that, hey, you don't have to go somewhere. You don't have to go to a private and pay $70,000 for a top education. Like, if you look comparatively, we're as good, if not better than 90% of those prestigious private schools in other states. And a big part is just getting kids to understand, like, you have a state institution in your backyard that presents like those privates. We just do it on a little larger scale. We're 7,000 students rather than 1,300, but we have the small student faculty ratio, the small classrooms, and we're delivering academically. So a big part of it was just like, hey, we understand we've got to get out there earlier to target the high academic kids, because they move faster, because a lot of high academic institutions move faster. So that was a big part of it, was just changing our timeline and then getting out there and making sure kids understood, who we are, what we're about, and getting them on our campus. Typically, when we get a kid on our campus, the campus sells itself. We've got a beautiful home here and in a place that we are extremely proud of. So that's been the biggest part of this thing, is just switching the timeline, being aggressive early, and getting kids here, getting kids to take a look, getting kids to realize what we've got. We've got to be really selective. Like we've got a small roster. The NJAC is typically 125. We can carry, the school kind of has us at 105. They give me a little leeway this year, but we're going to be a small roster that's always going to go after a smaller number of freshmen. So we're very particular to make sure, it's not always just about that film. If the grades don't match the film, then we can't recruit you, So we're able to hone on the kids that specifically make sense for us. And honestly, the kids that want to be here, we don't necessarily go out there and do the hard sell. We give the information, we let them know what TCNJ is all about. We let them know whether or not we want them here, where they fit in our process. And then the kids have to make that determination. It's an investment. And I think far too often coaches try to sell something that doesn't necessarily match what fits for that young man. Mm-hmm. And I think we just try to approach it a little different in making sure that we're part of this process, making kids understand what TCNJ is. And then you decide, like, does TCNJ make sense for me or not? Because ultimately we want to make sure that you go to a place that you're going to be happy over your 4 years. Obviously there's specific kids that we hope TCNJ is that place, but I don't want to convince you to do something that doesn't make sense for you. And I know that sounds bizarre when you think about college recruiting, but I think when you get to a point where you're so aggressively approaching it that you forget about the young man that you're recruiting, and like that's the important part of this thing is making sure you help that young man and his family work through this process to decide what's best for them. If you lose sight of that and are just focused in on what you need, I think, again, you're forgetting what your responsibilities are as a coach. So, we have a little different approach than a lot of other places, but we feel like it's been pretty darn good to us in terms of our ability to retain and our ability to bring in better football players and our ability to kind of develop those guys. The big part in that retention angle too, like kids come here and they stay here because this is where they want to be. They want the challenge of the academics. They want the challenge of football, and they enjoy their experience. So ultimately feel like, the formula that we're utilizing is effective for us, because we've got kids that want to be a part of this.
Mm-hmm. That's true. Can you just talk about the support from the administration at department? Just to, again, another critical component, just to have everyone on the same page. Coach Goff, Executive Director of Athletics, Amanda V. De Martino, and President Catherine A. Foster. If we can just talk about, that angle as well.
The support's been fantastic. Since I've been here, it's been a situation where when we have needs, they're met. Or they're attempted, we realize we don't get anything we want as football coaches, but because we always ask for more, that's just part of our jobs and protecting our programs. But, there's always open dialogue. There's always that ability to communicate. And Amanda has done a fantastic job as our athletic director on continuing to kind of build what was already here. In athletics and with President Foster, I mean, she's got 10 varsity letters from her college days. So she understands athletics. She understands what student athletes go through. And student athletes are different. They are. I know a lot of places they try to say, hey, you're just treat all students the same. I'm sorry, but student athletes go through a heck of a lot more than most students do, and by choice. They want the demands of doing both. And I think we've got an administration that understands that, and they understand the value of student athletes and what athletics does. I mean, this is a place, TCNJ has got 90 national championships, so it's a place that has understood winning across the athletics department. I mean, I think about Sharon Pfluger across the parking lot with field hockey and lacrosse. She's got 20 national titles between those two sports. I mean, you're surrounded by people that get it. And for you to have that kind of success as an athletics department, there's obviously something coming from the administration and a big understanding of the importance of athletics. And what's really wild about, a place like TCNJ is also that academic rigor, being able to combine both. We show that smart kids can go out there and be successful on the football field as well.
Yeah, no, that's true. Talk about facilities at TCNJ. I mean, talk about Lions Stadium. I was reading up online. I mean, I just state of the art, Coach Goff. I mean, talk about can accommodate more than 6,000 fans, and it was resurfaced. Just I said within the past 2 years, I believe, and as far as I think the entire facility, it said it was heated, and just can you talk about having that home field advantage? I mean, it just seems like that's a place that, again, you talk about prospective players that want to come and said definitely play on. But can you just talk about that?
Yeah, the Den, we love it. We had the new surface for the 2019 season. It was put in the summer before. So it's really only been played on for one season.
Okay.
Like I said, you did a great job mentioning kind of the capacity of the place, a tremendous press box.
Yeah.
So and what's also cool about it is it's smack dab in the middle of campus. We don't travel to our field.
Yeah.
It's located right in the middle of campus, so kids can easily go from class, locker room, they're out on our playing field. We've got a brand new weight room that's coming in next summer that we are extremely excited about. So it's more than just the Den. It's having that varsity only weight room. Sorry.
No, it's okay.
We have that varsity only weight room where we're able to get the work in that we need to get done. And just to have a home stadium like ours, I mean, it really is, it makes it comfortable. It makes it comfortable knowing that you've got a top-notch facility.
Yeah. No, that's a great point you made about the strength and conditioning as well, Coach Goff. I mean, that, said as far as the training, said, that's what you want, said those to go again, to work together. Can you talk about that as well? Like, with the, as you said,
we have
a facility being built. So,
we're fortunate too that we have a strength and conditioning coach. So we've got Addison Savella works with the entire athletics department when it comes to strength and conditioning, and that's what he does. It's not like he's not an assistant coach with the sport who also does strength and conditioning. He is our strength and conditioning coach for the department. So he works with all the teams. I mean, to have that is huge. To have a guy who's focused in on that portion of things, does all the programming, works directly with our student athletes, and then have a facility that's just for the student athletes, I think is huge. And to be able to see the renovation that we're looking forward to, because it's such an important part of the experience and of development. Not getting things done in the weight room, you're not going to be successful on the field, on the court, on the mat, whatever it might be. So we're fortunate to have a really good strength and conditioning program, a really good strength and conditioning coach. So we're very we're lucky in that aspect.
Just a couple more left. I can't thank you for the time, Coach Goff. I'm just your extensive record, in said college football. Just talking about your stats, before TCNJ, at Defiance, at King's College, Washington, Jefferson, Rhodes, Cortland State, and Muhlenberg. Every place you've been, you've had an impact. Said that the teams have gotten significantly better, and just in terms of said stats offensively, defensively. Can you just talk about what you've learned, said from those experiences, and just being able to apply it, now here, of course, 5 years now at TCNJ, Coach Goff?
I don't know if they all got better or benefited from being in some really good spots.
But the last couple of spots,
W&J has been pretty damn good for a long time, and Portland was doing well, and Coach, I was fortunate to work with Coach Donnelly at Muhlenberg and kind of got that program rolling. I think we put a lot of hard work in a short amount of time to find, which when I was there, and we're fortunate to have the best record in like 8 years when I was the head coach. But every place that I've been, I've taken something. And I've been in a lot of stops over my 20-year career. And a lot of that, honestly, was I wanted to learn from a lot of different places. I wanted to get out there and experience things with different coaches, build different contacts, learn different ways of doing things. And I think all of those stops have helped me become who I am as a coach, and develop the way that I want to approach things and the way that I want to handle a program. And so, I mean, I've taken a little piece of every place that I've been, every kid, every coach, every field, they've all had an impact on me. Not just as a football coach, but as a husband, as a father, as a person. Just when you're in this business, you're just surrounded by so many different people and so many great people, and you're also presented with so many different situations, and just to help you kind of be able to work through all those different things. I've been blessed to be around a lot of really, really good people. And really, really good coaches and mentors. Mike Sirianni out at W&J is one of the guys that's had one of the biggest impacts on my career and my life. And I think about my time with, like I said, with Mike Donnelly, just my year at Muhlenberg and Coach Neal up at Cortland. Just some guys that have really been legends in this sport, and to have been able to work with them and learn from them has just it's been an awesome experience.
And I don't want to forget also, as a player, a 3-letter winner at Susquehanna University as a linebacker, defensive lineman. They won the title in 1999, the MAC Commonwealth title. You won the Coaches Award that year, and then finished up as a student assistant coach in 2000. Can you talk? I mean, it said definitely. It said we're able to thrive in that environment at Susquehanna. Can you talk about that, Coach Goff?
I loved my time as a Crusader. And when Coach Briggs was the head man there, and I think about the friendships I developed. And I didn't have the college career that I'd hoped for. I was banged up. I had shoulder surgery after my freshman year, or after my sophomore year. I had back surgery when everything was all said and done. It was a rocky road, but I was fortunate to put together a senior season that was memorable for me, and fortunate to be voted, with the Coaches Award. I think the coaches saw like kind of what I went through. A lot of it is things where I look back and I'm like, I probably could have and should have done a little better job of taking care of myself. But I'll never forget the time that I had there, the people I met there, my best friends. The rest of my life are guys that I met at Susquehanna, and I'm always going to be appreciative of the Crusaders and kind of what they've done for me. So I look back on that time, and there's a lot of stories that I can't share, but it's definitely was a memorable time in my life, and definitely had a huge impact on me as I've kind of continued to grow as an individual.
No, it's terrific. You probably answered this question before, but I don't know, as a player, as a coach, said the past 20 years, the game of football, what it means to you, said you've been in, for, the majority of your life. So I'm just wondering if there's anything else that, comes to mind, said about the game of football, Coach Goff.
I think it's such an important sport. And I know it's another cliche, and I know a lot of coaches talk about their sports, and everybody has pride in what they do. I feel like football teaches kids so much, and it teaches kids so much, not just on an individual basis, but it also teaches, like I said earlier, in terms of a commitment to others, and an importance of others, and really the value that you have to others, like the impact you can have on others, and understanding your own personal value. And I think a lot of kids are struggling with that stuff right now because they spend too much time on their freaking phones and on their computers and looking at shit that's not real. Sorry.
Yeah, it's okay.
But I get kind of passionate about that stuff, because I worry about where kids are right now, because nobody knows where to turn to get real information, get accurate information. And they forget about relationships. And I'm sorry, but I know people said like, hey, these devices have connected us. Bull. They've torn us apart. Kids that sit down and you got three guys on a phone rather than talking to each other. And that's real connection through a TV screen or through a computer screen. I'm sorry, people are wrong about that stuff. Yeah. Can I talk to someone across the country? Sure. But is that really connecting? And I think football is one of those places where it's impossible not to connect. You got 105 guys in a locker room, you're going to connect. You're going to mingle. You're going to have conversation. You're going to have those things on a football field. You have to, in order to function as a unit. So I think we're still a sport that kind of forces that development, that ability to communicate with other people the right way, face to face. And also, it teaches kids how to work as a unit and how to work and understand how they piece into things, what their responsibility is to a collective, which has a greater impact than just what you're doing offensively, defensively, or in special teams. And also, good old fashioned work. You still have to work, you've got to work your butt off to be able to get on a football field and be a contributor. And there's still value in that stuff. And one of the biggest things, I think, is it's still a place where you bring people in from different backgrounds, different culture, with different ideas, and they come together to create one culture. They don't always have to be best friends. You know what I mean? Like not everybody's going to be your best bud, but you got to trust one another, and you've got to have respect for one another, and you've got to do it a certain way and still value in that, which I think there's just a lot of things that are getting lost. I know I went a little deeper than I probably should have, but you just see a lot of crap going on right now. You wonder like, what's the answer? And we constantly just go, God, if everybody could just spend a year in a locker room, if everybody could just spend a year being a part of an athletics team and like fully immerse themselves in what it means to be a part of an athletics team, it would be beneficial.
No, I agree. The last two, you talk about support from family. I know you mentioned earlier, but your wife, Jamie, your son, Braddock, as you know, with coaching, it's so demanding. I said many hours spent away from family in the office, on the field, meetings, watching game film. I said, from morning till night. Can you just talk about what they've meant to you? Here with your football coaching journey, Coach Goff?
As important as football is and everything, nothing is more important to me than my family. And what we try to do here is have balance. It's funny. I talked with a friend of mine who was a Division I basketball coach a while back, and he kind of said like, balance is impossible. And I just, that stuck with me. And I've thought about this and I try to make sure that that's not true. I feel like with technology, with Huddle, Huddle's been huge in order for us to kind of break down games quickly and be able to watch on our own time. So I get a lot of what I get done. I wait till my wife and my son are asleep, and then I try to get some stuff done when I'm not in office. But I think it's important as coaches, and this comes from head coach at Navy, kind of talked about like everybody puts family on the back of their shirts, but how many coaches actually take care of their own families? And so we try to instill that in terms of making sure that our guys are efficient with their time and efficient with the technology that they have available. That's an enhancement that we're able to utilize and make sure that they spend time with their family, because I know I'm gonna spend time with mine. I'm not there as much as I should be often, but I try to be there I'm there as much as I possibly can. Because they mean everything to me. I wouldn't have the success that I've had, or I wouldn't have the success that I'm striving to gain without the support of my wife and without Jamie and without my son. They also keep me balanced. Like my wife will whoop my butt, and she'll keep me in line. if I'm starting to stray and I'm not doing the things that I need to do in the most important role of my life, my most important role is to be a husband and father. And if I'm not doing that well, I can't be a good coach. So if I'm straying, if I'm taking a wrong turn, she's quick to pull me in line. And that's why I appreciate it. She's not a coach's wife. She's my wife. She doesn't put up with the bull if I'm not doing the things that I need to do. And I'm so appreciative of that. I appreciate that I have a wife, that I have a partner in this thing that understands the business, but also understands my greater responsibility. Yeah. So that's such an important part of my life. And it's something that I constantly try to talk to my staff about as well. We've got a number of young coaches that are married, have young kids, is like, make sure I think about Bruce Arians talking about, if you miss your son's game or whatever, he's going to fire you from the staff. And I'm like, we need more of that. You need more of that. You need to make sure that guys understand, those other, and I don't even say obligation and responsibilities, because it kind of, I don't know, diminishes it and almost sounds like it's something that you don't necessarily want to do. It's what your number one love should be, is the time you spend with your family. Yeah. And just making guys understand that, and making sure the guys have time to do that, I think is important.
Well said, Coach. Final question. Yes, players and athletes, this, and it, again, I think you're definitely said in the right spot to answer this. Well, your message, your advice is, younger players. I mean, I think you've alluded to it before, but kids, and also people want to break into the coaching ranks as well.
Wow.
I know it's a long-winded, but I
think the message for kids is like, if you're gonna be in it, and be in the moment when it comes to whatever you're choosing to do, but self-invested in it, and understand that, especially with a sport like football, there's no little things. We talk about that all the time. Like, everything you do matters, and everything has an impact on something else and someone else. So you got to understand that. You got to understand that the choices that you make are going to directly result in whatever outcome it is. So make sure you control those things so you have the outcome that you want. And just go experience different things too. Like for young kids, play multiple sports, things to try. And if you try it, stay fully committed. And then, like, hey, at the end of it, if you didn't like it, then move on. But stay committed to what you're trying. And really for young coaches, it's just be ready for the work. Be ready to put the time in. Be ready to do the things that are necessary to become the best possible coach you can. It's not easy, and it's never going to be an easy road. It's you're going to have to do things, especially as a young coach, that you didn't necessarily imagine you were going to do as a coach. Like, everybody has this idea of what coaching is, and there's a lot of things that are behind the scenes that you aren't aware of until you dive into the business, that you have to be able to tackle. And you've also got to be ready to build those relationships, and that's got to be an important component of it, is your investment in the kids and investment in their lives, and understand that you're going to have an impact on their lives. So you better make sure you're doing things the right way, because those kids are going to have eyes on, and you want to set the best possible example. But you got to be ready to work. Yeah. Another thing for kids, and this isn't even just football, is like, you're going to make mistakes. Like, things are going to happen. Not everything is going to go your way, and you've got to be resilient. You've got to be able to bounce back and understand that, like, the decisions that you make right now are not going to be the heaviest decisions that you have to make over the course of your life. So things aren't the end of the world when something bad happens, whether it's in sports or in the classroom. You've got time to get things right. So I think there's a lot of, kids that just think when something happens or something doesn't go exactly how they somehow planned, It's just like, hey, it's just this catastrophic event. It's not the case. You know, you're going to have time, and you're going to go through a lot of crap. But you're going to go through a lot of crap as a player, and you're going to have your heart broken now and then on the field. But you gotta use that as kind of your fuel, and you use that to try to get better. I know there's like this an abandonment of history and understanding of history, but like the importance of history is learning from the past, and every person is creating their own history. So continue to learn from the things that you've done, to just help you become better. You know, I'm a much different person than I was when I was 18, 20, 30.
Yeah.
So just understand that that's just part of your process. Everybody's got their own path. Everybody's got their own process. Just make sure you're diligent in what you're doing within that process and have some fun with it.
It's great. Okay, Coach Goff, you got the last word. If there's anything I've left out, you're more than happy to add.
No, I appreciate. Hey, I just appreciate you having us again. You know, I think it's awesome what you're doing in terms of giving, you know, some of us D3 guys a platform, you know, an opportunity to kind of talk about our programs and talk about the people. I think it's really cool what you're doing. Like we don't get a huge platform to kind of have a voice and talk with people. That's typically reserved for those D1 guys, but we're doing good work, you know, and we've got tremendous kids, and kids who are passionate about the sport, and they're passionate about all aspects of their life. And when we have opportunities to kind of talk about that, we really appreciate it.
Thank you, Coach Goff, for the kind words, and you know, wishing you, the rest of the coaching staff and players, you know, I said at TCNJ, you know, football, all the best, you know, in the 2021 regular season.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.